Since President Trump released his peace plan, the Middle East has been absolutely abuzz with discussion concerning what will happen. We know the Bible prophesies an Israeli-Palestinian peace agreement for the times just ahead. Trump's peace proposal almost completely matches with the one prophesied in the Bible. So what does the future hold? We'll talk about it on today's edition of End of the Age. Sometimes in order for us to really understand what's going on, we have to back up and review where we have been and what has happened. Sometimes you can't understand the present without understanding the past. So I want to begin today by backing up and considering where Israel has been and what Israel has gone through. I'm actually going to go back 2,000 years to 70 AD when the Romans destroyed Jerusalem and drove the nation of Israel into captivity. They then spent almost 2,000 years being filtered among the nations, having no homeland. Well, this was rectified in 1947. The United Nations voted to partition the Promised Land, creating a Palestinian state and a Jewish state. The Palestinians said, we're not interested. All we want to do is drive the Jews out of the Middle East. Consequently, Israel went ahead and accepted her state. It was very small, only 9 miles wide at the waist. Nevertheless, it was a homeland. And the Jews that were just coming out of Hitler's horrible Holocaust were so happy to have a place to call their own. Finally, on May the 14th of 1948, Israel declared her independence. The very next day, 5 Arab nations launched a war against the fledgling nation. The whole world held its breath, thinking they surely can't last. They only had 600,000 population, counting men, women, and children. And here we have 5 Arab nations coming right down against them. Miraculously, though, Israel did survive. As a matter of fact, she even expanded her borders somewhat. 1949, the ceasefire was declared. Now, Jordan had come across the Jordan River in 1948 and fought against Israel. Then Jordan stayed in 1949 when the ceasefire was declared. Jordan stayed illegally occupying the West Bank, the area that's called in the Bible Judea. Well, things went on like that for the next 18 years until 1967. In 1967, the president of Egypt decided he was strong enough and big enough. His name was Gamal Abdel Nasser, and he felt like that they were ready now to drive Israel into the sea. So he began to prepare for war. He made no secret about it. He made speeches about it. Israel knew it was coming. That was going on during May. Realizing they were getting ready to be attacked, the Israelis decided, do we sit here like sitting ducks or do we grab the initiative? On June the 5th, their airplanes left the borders of Israel, swept out over the Mediterranean Sea, flying below radar detection down into Egypt, which was by far their strongest foe. They caught the Egyptian airplanes on the ground, destroying 90% of them before they could ever even start their engines. The war was almost over. before it was begun. Well, it was during that 6-day war that Israel captured the Golan Heights from Syria in the north. Syria had been attacking from the Golan Heights. They also captured the West Bank, Judea, Samaria, and they captured the Sinai in the south from Egypt. It was breathtaking. 6 days. This little nation called Israel had absolutely routed her main 3 Arab enemies. The whole world was just stunned, and much of the world understood that the hand of God was fighting for the nation of Israel. Well, that rocked Israel into a little bit of a complacency. Egypt immediately set about rebuilding her forces. Russia helped. Russia supplied airplanes, tanks. And by 1973, Egypt now felt like they were ready once again to attack Israel. They wanted to use the element of surprise. So on Israel's holiest day of all, Yom Kippur, Egypt attacked. Mr. Anwar Sadat led the charge. They caught Israel by surprise, and Israel was almost defeated in that war. It was so bad that the defense minister of Israel said to Golda Meir, "Golda, I fear for the third temple." We'll tell you more when we get back.
About our trip, it was a wonderful experience. We totally enjoyed the time spent with other believers, worshiping and experiencing the places where Christ walked. One of our favorites was being on Mount Moriah, where the Holy of Holies are, the Dome of the Spirit. And the teachings that Brother Baxter did was so enlightening. It was so much to take in. It will take us another month or two to really grasp the full extent of the knowledge we received on this trip. Our tour guide in Israel was fantastic. He was very knowledgeable. I think God chose him just for us. Thanks, Jana. Our lives will never be the same. We will try to do this tour again. Mike and Julie L., Cayman Islands.
Join us May 1st through May 16th, 2020, for a trip to the wonderful land of Israel and the Holy Roman Empire reborn.
We've seen Bible prophecy fulfilled like never before. From the halls of the United Nations to the Temple Mount in Jerusalem, Endtime Ministries continues to reveal the Bible prophecy in the news headlines around the world every day. Whether it's through our broadcast or online at our Jerusalem Prophecy College, your gifts enable us to put vital materials in the hands of those who need it most. Because of you, we continue to replace fear with faith in the hearts of Christians around the world. We will continue to see prophecy come to pass at an even swifter pace. We need your support. Your donation of any amount enables us to continue to broadcast and be a voice in the ever-growing censored media. To become a partner or give a one-time gift, visit endtime.com or call 1-800-END-TIME right now. That's 800-363-8463. Go online now. Visit endtime.com.
Today, because of all the momentous developments this past week, we felt like we needed to put everything in perspective. So we're doing a review, and then we're going to look at what's happened the last 2 or 3 days and what is the prophetic significance. Well, after the 1973 Yom Kippur War, when Israel was almost defeated, the Arabs felt like they gained their honor back, their dignity. They had been so routed in the 6-day war, it was like they had no power. But by surprising Israel and almost defeating Israel in the 73 war, the Egyptians felt like they were vindicated and could start moving towards a peace endeavor with Israel. So what happened was, Mr. Anwar Sadat, under the leadership of President Jimmy Carter, met with the Prime Minister of Israel, Menachem Begin, and in 1979, they signed the peace agreement between Egypt and Israel. It was the first agreement between the newborn Israeli state and any of her Arab neighbors. The Arab League actually ostracized and kicked Egypt out of the Arab League. They were so angry because they had dared make peace with the hated Zionist entity, but they did anyway. Well, as time went along, at the initiative of the United States and other powers, the Oslo Peace Accords were held. They were actually signed in 1993. This set up a path that hopefully was going to lead to peace between Israel and her Arab neighbors. Now, it was during this time that Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin was the key player. Let me tell you about what happened. In order to really get the importance of this, I want to relate to you what Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin envisioned. Now, he signed the Oslo Accords, and then he paid with his life because one of the right-wing Jews, feeling like he was giving away the land of Israel, decided it was his duty to kill him. And in November of 1995, he was assassinated. He gave his life for the cause of peace, and in so doing became a very revered person in Israeli history. Now, he outlined in his last speech to the Israeli Knesset his vision regarding the ultimate resolution of the Israeli-Arab conflict. He envisioned Jerusalem remaining united, now listen carefully, under Israeli rule. The portions of the West Bank with large Jewish populations and the Jordan Valley would be incorporated into Israel, and the remainder of the West Bank, along with Gaza, would become subject to Palestinian civil authority and autonomy in what he said would be something less than a state. Now, are you remembering what is called for under the deal of the century that President Trump released on Tuesday? When you look at this, at what Rabin foresaw, it's almost like he foresaw the deal of the century by President Trump. Well, Rabin's vision was the basis upon which the Knesset approved the Oslo Accords, and it was not rejected by the Palestinian leadership at the time. They were going to be willing to accept it as well. That was 1993. 1994, because peace was breaking out all over, Israel and the Jordanians signed a peace agreement. That was initiated by President Bill Clinton. And then the year 2000, Clinton, Barack, and Arafat met at Camp David here in the United States, and they closed themselves in for 2 weeks to try to negotiate a peace deal. However, they didn't quite make it. They got almost everything worked out until they came to the Temple Mount. When they got to the Temple Mount, Arafat said, "We can't give this up, no way." And Ehud Barak, who was the prime minister of Israel at the time, said, "Now wait a minute. This is our number one holy site. You Arabs have your number one holy site in Mecca, your number two holy site in Medina. This is only your third holy site, the Temple Mount, the Al-Aqsa Mosque." Arafat said, "Sorry, we can't give it up." President Clinton attempted to intervene. He said, "Why don't you just share it? I mean, after all, that way the Jews can have their site where their temple stood. You can have your number three holy site. We can have peace." Arafat looked at President Clinton and said, "There never was a temple there." And Clinton said, "What did you say?" Arafat said, "There never was a temple there." Clinton said, "Well, what about the place where Jesus taught? What about the history we have? What about the New Testament? It talks about the temple all the time." Arafat said, there never was a temple there. Well, when Clinton saw that he was dealing with a person willing to be so absolutely blind to the truth, he realized right then he had reached a dead-end street. So the talks broke down. Now, I'm not covering all the history because I want to get to where we are today. But in 2004, Yasser Arafat died, and Mahmoud Abbas, the present leader of the Palestinians, became his successor. In 2005, he was elected to succeed Arafat, and he was elected to a 4-year term. Now, that was, of course, 15 years ago, and he's still in office, never had another election. Well, in 2005, Ariel Sharon came to the conclusion that he would never be able to make peace with the Palestinians, that the Palestinians did not have it in them to make peace with Israel. So he decided to grab the bull by the horns and to act unilaterally. He unilaterally withdrew from Gaza, acknowledging that that was going to be part of the Palestinians. He actually picked people up and carried them out. About 9,000 inhabitants of Gaza, some had lived there for 50 years, carried them away from their homes. Then he built a security wall between Israel and the Arab population. He thought that was the only way we were ever going to have peace, was to say, look, I love you, but I can't stand living with you. We're divorcing. And he built the security wall between Jerusalem and Bethlehem that still stands to this day, and all the way around Jerusalem in order to reduce the terrorism. And it worked. The terrorist rate has gone way down as a result of this security wall that Sharon built. However, it didn't last for long because Sharon had a stroke, and he was succeeded in 2006 for the prime ministership by Ehud Olmert. He became prime minister and attempted to finish what Ehud Barak had started. He tried to get a peace deal with Mahmoud Abbas. He offered him almost everything that Israel had taken in the 67 war. However, Abbas would not listen to it. No peace. Well, then in 2012, President Obama was elected, and he made it immediately his goal to negotiate a peace in the Middle East. He said, I will not wait till the last year of my presidency, like George W. Bush did, to try to get peace in the Middle East. I'm going to move immediately. So he appointed Mr. George Mitchell, that had proven himself to be such a skilled peacemaker in Northern Ireland. He thought, surely Mitchell can get this done if anyone can. He became the special envoy to the Middle East. However, after 2 years of dealing with the obstinance of the Middle East, he said, I resign. These people don't want peace. So John Kerry, who became the Secretary of State, he then launched a peace effort. And they tried moving heaven and earth to get a peace deal done, all to no avail. Well, in 2016, President Trump was elected as our new president. However, before Trump actually took office in January of 2017, there's that 2-month period, the lame duck period, when Obama was still in office and still wielded the power of the office. On December the 23rd of 2016, Obama pushed the United Nations and promoted a resolution, Resolution 2334, to be adopted. Resolution 2334 said that Israel's presence in the West Bank, including East Jerusalem, was a flagrant violation of international law. So now it's encoded in international law that Israel should be out of there. And with the full backing of the United States of America, it was Israel's worst nightmare. Well, then President Trump said, even before he was elected, that if elected, his number one goal would be to bring about a peace deal. He said, you know, I'm known for my ability to make deals. I'm not sure I can get it done, but I'm going to try. He appointed his son-in-law, Jared Kushner and his longtime personal attorney, Jason Greenblatt, to begin to work on it. And work they did. They worked for the next 2.5 years feverishly. They put together a plan called the Deal of the Century. But it had two parts. It had a financial part and it had a political part. On June the 25th through the 26th of 2019, Jared Kushner led a meeting in Bahrain with many Arab leaders attending. The meeting was called Peace to Prosperity, and it was devoted to the financial part of the plan. He laid on the table $50 billion. He said, if you will cooperate with us to solve the Palestinian-Israeli problem, we are willing to put together, with international help, this huge pile of money, and we will bring the Palestinian standard of living up to the standard of living of Israel. Right then, the standard of living was about 1/3 of Israel. Plus, we will eliminate all of the unemployment. The Gaza Strip, 50% or higher unemployment. Trump said we will have it down below 10% if you will cooperate with us. The Arabs loved the idea. We're going to finally solve this problem. However, it took a while to present the political part because Israel's government went into chaos. The Israeli government was forced to resign in December of 2018. They held new elections April the 9th of 2019. Neither party had a big enough majority to actually install a government. So they named a new election for September the 17th of 2019. Again, when the elections were held, neither side could put together a government. Consequently, they had to set new elections for March the 2nd, 2020. Now, President Trump had been waiting all this time to put his deal on the table because Netanyahu said, if you put that deal on the table now, it'll dominate everything that Israel does. Wait until I'm elected and get my new government together. However, after waiting all this time, Trump said, look, maybe I should put it now because I'm not sure you're going to get reelected. And maybe by putting the deal of the century on the table, it'll help your reelection. So what happened was, just a few days ago now, on January the 28th of 2020, President Trump presented his deal. He had Benny Gantz, who's the head of the Blue and White Party in Israel. He had him come on Monday, and then he had Benjamin Netanyahu come on Tuesday. And while Netanyahu was here, they presented in a big press conference the deal of the century. It was revealed. Now, there were 5 things prophesied in the Bible for this 7-year peace deal. It's a 2,500-year-old prophecy, but it prophesies that there will be a peace deal between Palestinians and Israelis, and when that deal is signed, it will mark the beginning of the final 7 years to the Battle of Armageddon and the second coming of Jesus Christ. Well, what happened was, let me first of all talk to you about the different things that go into this deal. The Bible prophesies there's going to be a Palestinian state in Judea during this final 7 years as a result of this peace deal. And then in the Trump plan, the Jews are going to be allowed to remain in the Palestinian state, which is what the Bible prophesies. Well, once again, it also states that the Temple Mount is going to be shared. In the Trump plan, the Temple Mount is shared. The Jerusalem's holy sites should remain open. And I'm quoting now from the Deal of the Century, which was just issued last Tuesday. It says there, Jerusalem's holy sites should remain open and available for peaceful worshipers and tourists of all faiths. People of every faith should be permitted to pray on the Temple Mount, which is also called Haram al-Sharif, in a manner that is fully respectful to their religion, taking into account the times of each religion's prayers and holidays, as well as other religious factors. Now, David Friedman, the ambassador from the U.S. to Israel, has apparently hit some blowback since they published the deal of the century, because he says, now, we are not saying this is the way it has to be. We're saying, well, this is the way we think it should be if all parties will agree. Because apparently the Muslims said, wait a minute, we're the sole arbiters over the Temple Mount. So now then David Friedman is backing up. But nevertheless, I read to you what they put in the deal of the century. Now, even though the building of the temple on the Temple Mount is not mentioned in the Trump plan, doesn't say there will be a temple there, doesn't say there won't be. But if Israel is going to worship according to her beliefs, they believe they have to build a temple. And the Bible says that they will build that temple. Then Jerusalem will remain under Israeli control. That's exactly what the Trump plan says. So what's going to happen? Well, there's going to be a peace agreement signed. It's in the Bible. The Bible's prophecies always come to pass. The final 7 years will begin. The Jewish temple will be built during the first 3.5 years of this 7-year period. Halfway through the 7 years, the Antichrist will be revealed. That will trigger the beginning of what is known as the Great Tribulation. Also at this time, God will send his 2 witnesses. You can read all about it in Revelation chapter 11, verse 3 through verse 8. He's going to send 2 powerful preachers, and their preaching is going to ignite great revival. They will be in opposition to the Antichrist and his one world government plan. At the end of the 7 years, the international community, the world government, will attempt to invade Israel, to force Israel to do what it wants it to do, and it will look like Israel's going to be defeated. However, half of Jerusalem will fall to the world community, and then Jesus Christ will come to save Israel. He'll come down, defeat the Antichrist, defeat the false prophet, and he will establish his kingdom, a kingdom that will never pass away and never be destroyed. Wow, we got a lot to look forward to. God bless you all, and we'll see you the next time.
Move Mountains with Irvin Baxter. This book by Irvin's grandson provides 30 days of devotion that will enhance your relationship with God and others. Authentic illustrations from early morning devotions at Endtime will help you find your purpose and eliminate fears. Commit to taking this 30-day journey and experience real life change. Get your book for only $14.99. Call 1-800-363-8463 or go to endtime.com/move.
If ever people needed to hear the unvarnished truth, it is now. There are some subjects that are not politically correct to talk about, but they're urgent. That's why I'm grateful for Endtime magazine. If you're not a subscriber, you're missing information that will impact your life. Endtime has a bi-monthly magazine that explains how current events are fulfilling Bible prophecy. You can get a 2-year subscription for only $29. You can also get a bulk subscription and pass them out to your church. We have gotten reports that Endtime magazine has caused spiritual awakenings in churches when they see the prophecies being fulfilled right now. You can start your own ministry and lead them in doctor's offices, libraries, laundromats. You never know if you might be responsible for saving someone who is searching for the unvarnished truth. That's what the magazine has done in many lives. Call 1-800-ENDTIME. That's 1-800-363-8463 and get your subscription today.
If your station only carries the first 30 minutes of End of the Age, go to endtime.com and click the watch button to continue today's broadcast. You can also finish up later by clicking the archive button.
We will be taking your calls in this half of the program. The number to be on the air with me, 877-END-TIME, 877-363-8463. If you need to reach our operators, perhaps you want to order something from our store, something about what's happening right now, that number to call is 800-END-TIME. I do want to say one thing before we go to our callers, and that is this. We live in such momentous times the one thing you can do to prepare that will help you more than anything else is to enroll in the Jerusalem Prophecy College, because that will give you the information you need to serve the Lord like you should, and also to take care of your life and your family during this final 7 years. It's the Jerusalem Prophecy College. It's a total of 155 lessons, 11 semesters. You will love it. It'll be a great blessing to you. If you want to do this, go to JerusalemProphecyCollege.com. There you can register. Then you can enroll in your first course. The first course is 18 lessons. And I'm telling you, if you do the first course, you will want to do the rest, because this will get you ready for what lies just ahead of us now more than anything I know. Now, I cannot tell you exactly when Trump's plan is going to be implemented. It looks like it is going to be implemented. I can tell you this: Mahmoud Abbas plans to appear before the UN Security Council in 2 weeks and argue against the deal of the century. However, it's in the deal of the century plan that Trump wants to appear before the UN Security Council and ask them to actually adopt this plan as peace for the Middle East. So it's a very interesting time that we're living in right now. Well, let's get on to the phones today. First, the question comes from Facebook. It says, are there enough Arab nations to make the peace plan work without the Palestinians? Well, we don't know exactly how this is all going to come together, but the answer is yes. I'm looking at an article right now that I downloaded just yesterday from the Jerusalem Post. It says Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates welcome Trump's peace plan. Now add to that Oman and Jordan. Almost all of the Arab nations surrounding the Palestinian territories are ready to sign up to this deal. Now you think about that. That's an incredible departure, in that all these nations I just named to you have not yet established diplomatic relations with Israel, because they wanted to wipe Israel off the map until recently, but Donald Trump has turned that whole thing around. Now then, matter of fact, 3 of these 5 were actually at the presenting of the deal of the century on Tuesday, came to the White House for this. So they're very much pushing for it now. They believe that this is the plan that can work where others have failed. So the answer is yes, there's enough there, and it looks like if they would pressure Mahmoud Abbas and the Palestinians, that the Palestinians would have almost no choice. And it appears that President Trump is a strong enough leader that he will be willing to push this through as well. This really looks like to me that this is the real deal. Even though the document itself does not mention pro or con the building of a temple on the Temple Mount, it does say that all nations, all religions should be able to worship on the Temple Mount according to their beliefs. Well, one of the strong beliefs of the Jewish people is that they must build their third temple, and they believe they need to do it right away. They believe it so strongly that they've already created all of the furniture, all of the utensils that will be required, and they already have the architectural drawings for the third temple. So they're getting ready right now. Ladies and gentlemen, this deal is coming together, it looks like to me. Now, I cannot tell you how quickly it will come together. I cannot tell you that. I would not be surprised what President Trump would like to present it at the General Assembly of the United Nations in September, because that would be a tremendous forum, but it could happen before that. Like I say, Abbas already plans to go before the UN Security Council. Well, when he goes there, you never know. Trump may show up and argue for the deal of the century, and they may end up having a vote to approve the deal of the century instead of condemn it. We just simply don't know. Anyway, wow, is all this interesting? You better believe it is interesting. Let's get right to the phones now. And Valsa is calling from New York. Hello, welcome.
Hello. Hello, Irvin. How are you?
Oh, I'm wonderful. Thank you very much.
I have a question. Where in the Bible does it refer to the peace plan and 7 years following which is the return of Jesus Christ?
The first prophecy is in Daniel 9:27. It's actually verse 24 through 27. It's called the prophecy of Daniel's 70 weeks. Now, this is not an easy prophecy to understand. It is a difficult prophecy. As a matter of fact, I'm planning on producing a DVD right away that will put this in simple terms because everybody wants to know. I keep saying that there's this prophecy of this final 7 years and that this will culminate with the return of Jesus Christ to this earth. So we're getting ready to put out an emergency DVD. As soon as it's ready, I'll let you know. And I mean, we're hoping we can offer it to you by the 1st of next week. Anyway, let me go ahead and answer your question, Valsa. In Daniel 9:27, I'm just going to paraphrase it so you can understand it. The Bible says the Antichrist will confirm Israel's right to exist in the Holy Land for a 7-year period. But in the midst of the 7-year period, he will cause the sacrifice and oblation to cease. Now, what does that mean? That means there will be a temple built during the first 3.5 years. And once the Jews get their temple built, they believe they're required to offer daily sacrifices because they don't believe that Jesus Christ was their Messiah. Therefore, they still think they're under the law. So they're going to build their temple during the first 3.5 years. They're going to start offering animal sacrifices. This is going to produce a lot of opposition. A lot of people don't believe they should kill animals all the time like they will be doing. Consequently, they're going to object to it. The Antichrist will stop the killing of the sacrifices. He'll cause the sacrifice and oblation to stop, and then he will stand on the Temple Mount saying, you don't need this anymore. I am your Messiah. And therefore, now then you look to me for your spiritual leadership. Now, that is a very quick presentation of this prophecy. All these events are also referred to throughout the New Testament. Jesus talked about the abomination of desolation in Matthew 24:15. He said, when you therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by the prophet Daniel, he referred back to Daniel 9:27. If you live in Judea, then you must immediately flee at the time of the abomination of desolation, because then will be great tribulation, such as never has been before, nor ever again shall be. Now, in the Trump plan, this makes for a homeland for the Palestinians, a Palestinian state, no place else but Judea. The prophecy is 2,000 years old. The Trump plan is 2 days old. And yet it provides for the Palestinians to have their state in Judea, also known as the West Bank. And it also states there will be Jews living in Judea, but they will be under the power of their enemies. Well, that's what this peace deal says. It says that the Jews that live out there now will be allowed to stay there, living as a Jewish minority within the Palestinian state. It's exactly what the prophecy says. It's exactly what the peace plan says. So without going much further in detail, that's a little bit of an overview, Valsa. But Daniel 9:27 is the one key verse, and then you add much other knowledge from other places in the Bible, and it all fits together.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Valsa. And like I say, we do have plans to produce a DVD. Actually, we're planning on doing it tomorrow, and we'll get it out to you just as quick as we can. We're not even going to try to fancy it up. We're going to try to just to make it presentable and decent, because we feel like it is so absolutely important for you to get in your hands right now. So we'll let you know. I may be even able to tell you how to order that tomorrow. Just make sure you're tuned in tomorrow. Let's get right back to the phones now. David is calling from Virginia. Hello, David.
Hello, Pastor Baxter. It's an honor to talk to the president of Endtime Ministries.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to ask you about when they signed a peace agreement. Wouldn't this be a perfect time to fulfill the scripture that says, when they cry peace and safety, sudden destruction shall come upon them? You think that could be it? Or the Sixth Trumpet War?
Yeah, certainly that could happen. They could get this peace agreement, and somehow the whole thing could trigger the Sixth Trumpet War. So it could very well fulfill 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, actually it's verse 1 through about verse 5 there. It talks all about the second coming. So the answer to your question would be yes, David.
Yes, sir. And I just wanted to ask you real quick, what do you think about the French president attending the Holocaust Museum?
Well, you know, there were many world leaders there. I think it's the largest response they've ever had to this meeting that was held in Israel. Putin was there. Netanyahu was there. Many, many world leaders were there. And, of course, Macron, he very much wants to be involved in this peace in the Middle East. So does Putin. As a matter of fact, Putin also met with Netanyahu. I think that was either yesterday or today. Netanyahu flew to Russia to get this girl that is in prison that he was hoping Putin would release. Well, Putin did release her. He pardoned her. And so Netanyahu and his wife flew there with the girl's mother, and they picked her up and brought her back to Israel. But while he was in Russia, the news stories are telling us that he and Putin discussed Trump's deal of the century extensively. Well, I can see Russia playing a very key role because Mahmoud Abbas, he will not be involved. But if Russia pushes him to, then he would feel like Russia would have his back. He would not be at the negotiating table just with Israel and the United States. But now Russia and the Palestinians would be there with Israel and the United States. So I thought this was an incredible, significant event that happened just today. So that's my thoughts on that.
Thank you, sir. Have a blessed day.
Okay, thank you, David. Let's go now to right here in Texas. Robert, you're on the air.
Hello?
You're on the air.
Hi, it's Robert.
Yeah, what's your question?
How you doing? Hey, just real quick, I know that you say that you go constantly over to Israel and take your tours, and you have other things you do over there. And what do you know about that underground synagogue that's supposed to be under that same area where the temple is going to be built? Is that anything true about that, or does that have any significance of what's going on now?
Robert, I'm up against a break, so let me answer you. If you want to stay on hold through the break, you can do that. There is no underground synagogue right now. So I'm not sure what they're referring to, but I'll have more to say about that just as soon as we get back from this break.
Does the book of Revelation frighten you? Do its symbols confuse you? For centuries, the book of Revelation has been misunderstood and misinterpreted. In Revelation, the unveiling of Jesus Christ, Volume 1, Irvin Baxter unlocks the mystery of the book of Revelation with in-depth analysis and commentary like you've never heard before. This 10-part definitive DVD series and 268-page comprehensive commentary book covers the first 12 chapters of the book of Revelation, featuring on-location photography, classic artwork, and symbolic illustrations. You'll walk away with complete understanding and peace about the events happening during the final years on Earth. These comprehensive study tools, available for $299, will deepen your biblical understanding as you dig into the original intent of the book, answering the mysterious prophecies and symbols of the book of Revelation. Don't miss this special offer. Call now, 1-800-ENDTIME, or go to endtime.com to order. Call or go online now to get this comprehensive Bible study.
Oh, by the way, speaking of tours, May 1st through May the 16th, the finest tour we have. That will be Israel and the Holy Roman Empire. I'm telling you, if you could go on one tour, this would be the one I recommend to you. We will spend 11 days in Israel. Judy and I will be with you every step of the way. We'll be explaining everything to you as we go along. And then we will be going to Europe, where we will go to the birth of the Holy Roman Empire, the home of Charlemagne. You will see the temple, it's a cathedral that he built in 800 AD. He's buried inside of there. We're going to take you to the headquarters of the Holy Roman Empire, which was just reborn in 2009. The Holy Roman Empire is where the Antichrist, the false prophet, is going to come from anyway. If you can go on that tour, you should really just call us right now, 1-800-ENDTIME, and the girls will answer for you. Any questions you have, we'll send you a packet, but don't wait because we're getting pretty close to the time. If you even think you would like to go, give us a call right now, 1-800-ENDTIME, and ask to speak to someone about the tour. I want to get back to Robert now because one of my staff members came in during our break and told me that there is a story about a synagogue being underneath the Al-Aqsa Mosque. I do not believe that that's accurate whatsoever. I've been there 40 times. I'm down in that area every time I go there. I was just there in November. So no, I do not believe. Now there is an underground mosque there, which is used by the Arabs to worship, but that is not a Jewish synagogue. I do not believe that report is true, Robert.
Okay, because I know like they even sell tickets to do a underground Jerusalem tour. I guess those tunnels that they found a few years back. And
yeah, well, we go into tunnels. There is what's called the Rabbinical Tunnel. It's 500 feet long, and it has a lot of interesting things you can see, but there's not a synagogue down there. Also, there is another tunnel that leads from the Pool of Siloam up to the Temple Mount area. And Dave Robbins is going to have a story in our next End Time magazine with pictures that you'll be seeing that tunnel, but that's not a synagogue either.
Okay, real quick, and I'll hang up. The Old Testament, it speaks about a war with Syria being destroyed. Would that have any play with the end times of, like the 6-day or 6 trumpet war and moving forward to the war of Armageddon?
Yeah, you're talking about Isaiah chapter 17, verse 1. It does talk about Damascus becoming a ruinous heap. It appears to me from the context of that prophecy that will happen during the Battle of Armageddon. I believe that's the way that's going to come to pass, which of course is not very far off from right now. Thank you very much, Robert, for the call. I'm going to let you go. Let's get now to Micah calling from Tennessee. Hello, Micah.
Hello, Brother Baxter. How are you?
I'm doing just wonderful. Thank you.
Just had a quick question, and then I'm going to go off and let you answer.
Okay.
Would voting for Trump for re-election, would that be advocating his peace deal? Because the Bible speaks of God commanding Israel not to divide the land. Would that be advocating that?
I think you would probably be voting for everything President Trump has done. He's done many right things. We do not yet know how this deal is going to turn out. He's moved the embassy to Jerusalem, which is a wonderful, wonderful thing. He's recognized Jerusalem as Israel's capital. He's recognized the annexation of the Golan Heights by Israel, which is the right thing to do. He's also pulled us out of the world governmental system, and he's aligned up with Israel. All those things are prophetic fulfillments. So if he makes one mistake, if he makes one misstep, I do not think that's enough to negate all the incredible things. I think he's done more to fulfill Bible prophecy in the right way and done more to align the United States with Israel like we're supposed to be, according to the prophecies, than any other president has ever done. So in my opinion, no, you would not be doing the wrong thing by voting for him.
All right, thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, Micah. And now let's go to Joseph calling from Illinois. Hello, Joseph.
Hey, how you doing today, Irvin?
I'm doing just good.
Good. I just had a couple questions for you. One of them was the thing concerning the RFID microchip. And I know it stands for radio frequency identification. And one day I have this thought like FFF, 666, maybe registered 666 identification, but I probably went too far with that. But I know they have done it in Wisconsin at a business, and they are doing it in Europe. And they started in the United States in Wisconsin in the left hand. But I know that in Europe they're doing it in the right hand, and it's very rare to get it in the forehead. But do you think that could be part of the Beast's plan for a tracking system, which would coincide with you cannot buy or sell? Small and great, rich and poor.
Yeah. First of all, the Bible tells us that every person will be required to take a mark or a number without which they cannot buy or sell. The RFID chip could possibly be used like that. In Sweden, 4,000 people have already been implanted with an RFID chip. They're using it to ride on their trains, their buses. All they have to do is wave their hand, and it charges their account. Here in America, it's used very little. Like you said, one factory in Wisconsin, I think, has done it. Maybe 50 people have done it. Many of our states here in America have passed laws against the implanting of chips now, especially if it's mandatory. So I do not believe the mark of the beast is coming here to America. I believe there's scripture that America is not going to participate in the world government of the Antichrist. So we don't have to worry about that as much as some of the other nations do. China, India, all throughout Europe, I would be very concerned about it if I lived in those countries. So we know that there's going to be a system. You're going to have a marker number in order to be able to buy or sell. It's going to be some kind of a cashless society, I am sure. And many nations are moving toward a cashless system right now. So we're moving very fast. Fortunately, here in America, we don't have to worry about that like most other places have to.
Right. So we'll just, if that time comes in the tribulation, we'll most likely have to worry about survival then, because, well, if the Antichrist conquers every nation besides Israel and Jordan, and America goes against his system, then he'll go against America also, right?
The Antichrist is not going to conquer Jordan, not going to conquer Israel, and not going to conquer America, because we defend Israel all the way to the Battle of Armageddon, according to Revelation chapter 12, verse number 14. So we're very fortunate in that America is not a part of the one world government, which will ultimately become the power base of the Antichrist himself. So we're very blessed. However, what we should be doing then is being the center of world evangelism, and also to make America a harbor of safety for the people that want to get away from the Antichrist. That's going to be the role that we'll need to play during the final 7 years.
Now, do you think God would allow us to go through the test in America of getting implanted in the left hand? Because you can't tell someone, well, hey, that's the mark. It could be because it's in the left hand. But do you believe he would test America and say, hey, you're going to do this? Or not defile? I mean, I would see it as defilement. I wouldn't do it. It's off with my head.
I don't believe anybody's going to do it. I believe we're going to be preaching against it so much, and our government is going to be so aware that it's not going to take hold here in America. We will be preaching. We'll be going to Congress if we have to stop it, because of the biblical news understanding here in America that does not exist in a lot of other places in the world. Joseph, I've got to let you go. I've got some other people waiting. I'm about out of time. Thank you very much for your questions today. Let's go now to Roel from right here in Texas. Is it Raul?
Yes, sir. Brother Baxter, God bless you.
Thank you very much.
First, I want to say thank you for Endtime Ministries, for all the work you've done. You're a blessing to Christians that want to know more about prophecy and the end times. And I have a real quick question, and I'll get off so you can answer it. This morning, Nigel Farage, he's a member of the British Parliament, was being interviewed, and he was talking about Brexit. England is about to leave the European Union. But it was interesting that he said that he believed that Italy and Denmark would also would follow that. He believed that they're going to try to get out of that European Union. So I wanted to see what your thoughts were about, the Bible talks about the 10 nations. Some nations are uprooted. And if you can, weigh into that, what you believe the connection is as far as prophecy and how it's connected to this one world government that eventually is going to try to turn against Israel.
Yeah, well, a lot of people have asked about that, Ro, because they wonder if Britain is getting out of the European Union, then is Great Britain going to be a part of the kingdom of the Antichrist? The answer is Great Britain is definitely going to be a part of the kingdom of the Antichrist, because in Revelation 13, there's a combo beast there with the body of the leopard, Germany, the feet of the bear, Russia, the mouth of the lion, Great Britain. So Great Britain is going to be an integral part of the kingdom of the Antichrist. Whether they're out of the European Union or in the European Union does not make any difference, because the prophecies are so absolutely clear that Britain is going to be a part of the kingdom of the Antichrist.
Thank you very much. God bless you, Brother
Okay,
Baxter.
thank you. Appreciate it so much. Let's go now. Let's go to Brenda calling from Kentucky. Hello, Brenda.
Hello. Thank you for all that you do. And I have a question about the Church of Philadelphia in Revelation 3:10.
Okay.
Do you think this is not only a reference to that church at that time, but also us today? And the hour of trial, the particular meaning of that phrase, would that be like the midnight hour when we must be prepared because no one knows the day or the hour?
Brenda, I do not believe that Revelation 3:10 applies to us now. The book of Revelation is divided up into 3 sections. In Revelation 1:19, John was told, write the things thou hast seen, that's section number 1. Write the things which are, that's section number 2. And write the things which shall be hereafter. Chapter 1 is the things that are. Chapters 2 and 3 were the 7 churches that existed right then. Write the things that thou hast seen. And then the things which shall be hereafter start in chapter 4, verse 1. A voice said to John, come up hither, I will show thee things which must be hereafter. So consequently, the messages to the 7 churches, there were 7 literal churches. As a matter of fact, history tells us that John, after he was released from exile on the Isle of Patmos, went back to Turkey where all those 7 churches were located, and he was the overseer of those 7 churches. So God gave messages to those 7 churches to John, which he then delivered to them. So I do not believe that that is a message for us today. I believe that's a message that was for them back in the time of John.
Okay, and we're not sure what their particular trial was.
Well, there was a lot of persecution, of course. That's one reason that John was in exile, is he was being persecuted for preaching the name of Jesus. And so there were different messages that were given to those 7 different churches, and God gave them messages according to their individual situations at that time. Hey, listen, Brenda, I got to go. I'm out of time. Thank you very much. For those of you yet on the screen, I'm sorry. We'll get to you tomorrow. Make sure you're here. God bless you all. Don't forget, enroll in the Jerusalem Prophecy College. Don't wait. Do it now. God bless you. I'll see you tomorrow.
This has been End of the Age, brought to you by the faithful partners of Endtime Ministries. If you're not currently a partner with Endtime Ministries, or if you would like more information, we invite you to call us at 1-800-ENDTIME. That's 1-800-363-8463, or visit us online at endtime.com.
Thank you for watching. If you liked this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel and like our Facebook page.